ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतिरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नाम्नि। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Canto 4 chapter 3 verse 24। तत्ते निरीक्षो न पितापि देहकृत् तक्षो मम द्विट् तदनुव्रताश्चये यो विश्वसृग् यज्ञगतां वरोरुमां मनागसं दुर्वचसा करोतिरः। Therefore, you should not see your father, although he is the giver of your body, because he and his followers are envious of me. Because of his envy, O most worshipful one, he has insulted me with cruel words, although I am innocent. For a woman, both the husband and the father are equally worshipable. The husband is a protector of a woman during her youthful life, whereas the father is her protector during her childhood. Thus, both are worshipable, but especially the father because he is the giver of the body. Lord Shiva reminded Sati, your father is undoubtedly worshipable even more than I, but take care, for although he is the giver of your body, he may also be the taker of your body, because when you see your father, he may insult you because of your association with me. An insult from a relative is worse than death, especially when one is well situated. So here as Prabhupada is ex explaining what the thought process behind this statement is, but she was just saying that although he is your well-wisher, but because he is envious of me, it might not be good for you. So you should not go see your father. So sometimes, such direct instructions are not palatable to people. Hmm. And if direct instructions are not given and we are beating around the bush, then it doesn't help anybody, because neither the person who is hearing it will be actually be able to understand what the intent of the speaker is, nor the speaker will actually accomplish what he set out to accomplish. So it's very important to be simple and straightforward. Of course, Prabhupada always said truth has to be, calling a thief is not, um, I mean, is truth, and that truth should be spoken. Mm. Many times in dealings between devotees, I see that externally, because devotees are afraid of hurting others, they will externally speak nice things, but internally or behind, talks happen. And the real feelings come out. But that's really of no use. Actually, it will just result in Vaishnava Aparadh, uh, and nothing else. Really, nothing is accomplished except our own fall down. Bhakti. So it's always better to be simple and straightforward, and which will actually help in the long run. Maybe in the interim short run, it might look very difficult. Things might become more difficult to manage than beating around the bush. But in the long run, this is more beneficial than beating around the bush. So it's always a good thing to be simple and straightforward. At least for the person involved, it is better. Mm, um, yeah, difficult to implement for many people, but think this is Shiva is teaching by example. यदि व्रजिष्यसि अतिहाय मद्वचो भद्रं भवत्या न ततो भविष्यति संभावितस्य स्वजनात् पराभवो यदा स सद्यो मरणाय कल्पते. If in spite of this instruction you decide to go neglecting my words, the future will not be good for you. You are most respectable, and when you are insulted by a relative, this insult will immediately be equal to death. So again, Shiva is not saying that she will actually die, but he's saying that it will not be good for you. It will this will be insulted, and that will immediately be equal to death, meaning it will take effect immediately. The words will have an impact on you immediately. So better not go. Okay, chapter 4, Sati quits her body. मैत्रेय उवाच एतावदुक्त्वा विरराम शङ्करः पत्न्यङ्गनाशं हि उभयत्र चिन्तयन् सुहृद्दिदृक्षु परिशङ्कितात् भवान् निष्क्रामति निर्विशति द्विधाशसाम्. Maitreya said, Lord Shiva was silent after speaking to Sati, seeing her between decisions. Sati was very much anxious to see her relatives at her father's house, but at the same time she was afraid of Lord Shiva's warning. Her mind unsettled, she moved in and out of the room as a swing moves this way and that. Sati's mind was divided about whether to go or obey the orders of Lord Shiva. The struggle between the two decisions was so strong that she was pushed from one side of the room to another, and she began to move just like the pendulum of a clock. Suruddidriksha प्रतिघातदुर्मनाः स्नेहादृदत्यश्रुकलातिविह्वला भवं भवान् अप्रतिपूरुषं रुषा प्रदक्षति वैक्षत जातवेपतुः. Sati felt very sorry at being forbidden to go see her relatives at her father's house, and due to affection for them, tears fell from her eyes. Shaking and very much afflicted, she looked at her uncommon husband, Lord Shiva, as if we were going to blast him with our vision. See, the logic is so clear, right? For somebody like us who is actually not uh, involved in the situation, outsider, it looks pretty simple, straightforward instruction that Shiva is saying that it's not going to be good for you. Daksha is envious of me, so he'll insult you. Don't go. But because of emotional attachment, Sati was attached to go see her relatives at her father's house. So because Shiva said, don't go, like a child, because of affection towards her relatives, she was crying. Mm. She was shaking and very much afflicted because she wanted to go. And Shiva is giving her advice saying that don't go. She looked at her uncommon husband. Yeah, very special person, Lord Shiva. Though he had actually spoken words in her interest, she was looking at him as if she's going to blast him with her vision. Mm. The word aprati purusham used in this verse means one who has no equal. Lord Shiva has no equal in the material world in regard to equality towards everyone. His wife Sati knew that her husband was equal towards everyone. So why in this case was he so unkind to his wife that he did not allow her to go to her father's house? Hmm. Husband was equal towards everyone means on the spiritual platform. This distressed her more than she could tolerate, and she looked at her husband as if she were ready to blast him with her vision. In other words, since Lord Shiva is the Atma, it is indicated, Shiva also means Atma. It is indicated here that Sati was prepared to commit suicide. Another meaning of the word Apratipurusha is the personality who has no rival. Since Lord Shiva could not be persuaded to give her permission, Sati took shelter of a woman's last weapon, weeping, which forces her husband to agree to the proposal of his wife. Usual, normal lady, women of this material world. Last weapon is weeping. 。 Yeah, so she was ready to blast him. Prabhupada is saying because Shiva is Atma, blast him means blast Atma, meaning commit suicide. Mm, mm. Yeah, so she could not understand. She could not accept her husband's instructions. And of course, it is said husband is the first guru. So in one sense, she was just uh, not willing to follow guru's instructions, which would have been so good for her if she had followed. So this also is a lesson for all of us. We have a guru. We should follow the instructions of the guru. Know the instructions and follow the instructions. Know the instructions. How? I've spoken about this multiple times by actually hearing. From whom? From the guru himself, not from somebody who is speaking on behalf of the guru. Because it will all become like Chinese whisper. All know Chinese whisper, right? So somebody speaks something in one person's ear, then that person should repeat the same thing, whatever he has heard, to the next person in his ear, and so on and so forth. But inevitably, when something like this is done, the message is completely distorted by the time it finishes the whole cycle. So similarly, Guru would have said something, somebody has heard whatever he wants to hear from whatever was spoken, and then he will say something else, and then that is heard by somebody else who has mixes his own interpretation, or like this it goes on, and eventually the instruction is completely distorted. So following Guru's instructions means hearing directly from him and understanding it the way he is wanting it to be understood, and following it. And it is for our best welfare. Like here, Sati was not ready to follow her husband's instructions, and it was detrimental for her. ततो विनिश्वस्य सती विहाय तं शोकेन रोषेण च दूयता हरदा पित्रोर्रगात्स्त्रैण विमूढधीर्गृहान् प्रेम्णात्मनो योऽर्थमदात् सतां प्रियः. Thereafter Sati left her husband, Lord Shiva, who had given her half his body due to affection. Breathing very heavily because of anger and bereavement, she went to the house of her father. This less intelligent act was due to her being a weak woman. Of course, it's not about just being a weak woman, it's about Hridaya Daurbalyam. And this Hridaya Daurbalyam is there in every person. Just that uh, what that uh, what a person is weak-minded about is different. Each person is weak-minded about something or the other, right? And our Acharya said that this Hridaya Daurbalyam is one of the biggest problems why devotees don't make progress. Weakness of heart. We hear instructions, but we are very weak-minded, and hence we don't want to follow, or we can't follow, or we will give some reason why we can't follow, etc., etc. Right. So it's very, very important that one should not be weak-minded. So this is a classic example. Sati, because of being weak-minded, she took the wrong path. She ignored the instruction of her husband, who's guru. Mm. So we should always, you know, hear, be willing to follow. Of course, it is difficult to give up things that we have been used to for zillions of lifetimes in this material world, sense enjoyment. To give it up is very difficult. But it's not difficult for a person who is strong-minded. For a person who is weak-minded, it's very, very difficult. And a weak-minded person will end up, his bhakti will get destroyed. According to the Vedic conception of family life, the husband gives half his body to wife. That's why she's called Ardhangi. And the wife gives half of her body to her husband. In other words, a husband without a wife or a wife without a husband is incomplete. Vedic martial relationship existed between Lord Shiva and Sati. A rival relationship existed between Lord Shiva and Sati. But sometimes, due to weakness, a woman becomes very much attracted by the members of the father's house, and this happened to Sati. In this verse, it is specifically mentioned that she wanted to leave such a great husband as Shiva because of her womanly weakness. In other words, womanly weakness exists even in the relationship between husband and wife. Generally, separation between husband and wife is due to womanly behavior. Prabhupada is saying generally, it's not all the time, but generally, uh, divorce takes place due to womanly weakness. And the best course for a woman is to abide by the orders of her husband. See, that makes family life very peaceful. Sometimes there may be misunderstandings between husband and wife, as found even in such an elevated family relationship as that of Sati and Lord Shiva. But a wife should not leave her husband's protection because of such a misunderstanding. If she does so, it is to be understood to be due to her womanly weakness. Hmm. Of course, so because Prabhupada is writing, that means that this is the reality. Um, of course, in Kali Yuga, there are very complex, but still Prabhupada is also writing for all of us who are in Kali Yuga, and he just wrote all this just 50 years back. So we cannot just say that this is not applicable. But this is easily understandable by everybody. You know, the um, if the if the wife in the house is mm, more in control, more in self-controlled, uh, peaceful, not hankering for sense gratification, um, uses all her qualities to, keep the house peaceful. Family life is remains good. Otherwise, see, generally it is known that men are, they're generally out of control. Meaning, if something happens which they don't like, they'll shout. They want to show their superiority, so-called superiority, right? I am the head of the family. Now, this is, of course, this is not the right thing to do, but this is the nature of this material world. This is how the creation is. No, but in previous times, husband used to be like this, women used to be submissive. So family life used to go on. But today, because husband is also not doing the right things, wife is also not like, uh, you know, the wife of uh, women of previous older years. What is happening? Divorce. Even amongst devotees, there is divorce. So much of divorce. And in spite of all this, our devotees are very uh, forward looking, in the sense they don't want to even check horoscope at the time of marriage. At least horoscope matching is good to at least know that, okay, at least majority of the qualities match between boy and the girl, so that the amount of maybe discontentment or misunderstanding will be limited to few areas. But nowadays, because these marriages are also done without seeing horoscopes, the amount of misunderstanding that exists in a family is just huge. Literally, every small topic or big topic becomes controversial because husband and wife are at loggerheads. Now, someone has to be peaceful if the marriage should not break. Now, of course, today people say, why shouldn't a marriage not break? Why should the lady suffer? Yeah, because there is a certain design of this material world. That a lady who's husband without wife, somehow he can marry again, or he will somehow. I mean, the society deals with it very differently. But how difficult it is for a woman to be alone. Many situations. Once, one Mataji, she didn't want to marry. And then when she was 40, 45 years, then she was suddenly started feeling like, I don't have anybody. I need to marry. Who's going to marry at the age of 45? So there are emotional requirements for a woman, right? And they are best taken care in a family life. family where there's a husband, children, etc. Right now, if suppose a woman walks out of this marriage, she is the one who's going to suffer in the future. But people today think that, everybody is equal. No, emotional state is very, very different. I know so many devotee family. Why? Because wife doesn't like to do bhakti, so she just leaves the husband and goes. And wife and one child, they're gone. And husband is not doing anything wrong. Just wants to do bhakti. That's all. Right? So it becomes so difficult. Think about the child. What will happen to the child? Future of the child. I know also so many Matajis who are devotees who are single parents. So difficult, so difficult. What is more difficult? Managing life, children, future alone, or little bit of inconvenience, misunderstanding, and which can also be mostly resolved or accepted. Right? Either way, it's possibly much easier to deal with that than to go against and then face the situation for the whole life. Mm, yeah, I mean, this is the design. This is how the Lord has designed this material world. This is the nature of a man. This is the nature of a woman. Again, whenever we discuss these topics, Matajis who are in devotees who are in Stri form in this life should not just think from your position in this life. You should think about it neutrally as an Atma, saying that, okay, person in woman body, person in man body, and then think about these things. But when Prabhupada is writing these things, it's very, very clear, right, that there has to be certain level of acceptance and adjustment that is required. Of course, it is required from both sides. But if suppose it's not available from the husband side, then the wife will have to do little more, put little more effort. But I see so many, I dealing with so many devotees, I see that mostly devotees are not sensitive about this at all. Still so much of false ego because of modern education. Modern education makes us think that we are invincible. That you know, so that is why Prabhupada called this modern education slaughterhouse. And we don't really learn anything about family, life, society, life, responsibilities, how we should live, what we should do, what we should not do. Nothing we learn. So actually, this whole Varnashrama system, this whole Grihastha ashrama, they're all absolutely perfectly designed by the Supreme Lord. So that one can live in society peacefully, do bhakti, make progress, go towards Krishna. Otherwise, it's all, we're just dealing the wrong problems all the time. Only dealing with wrong problems. Real problems are left aside because we don't have even time to look at them. Mm. And so this is one side of it, right? Like I said, this is from a perspective of marriage, right? And Grasta life. And this, woman, the role of women and womanly weakness Prabhupada is talking about. But we should also understand that there is weakness of mind, weakness of heart for a devotee in general. And this Hridaya Daurbalyam is even more dangerous, right? Because it affects both men and women, Hridaya Daurbalyam. And this Hridaya Daurbalyam, maybe there is no difficulty in marriage, but then because of the Hridaya Daurbalyam, we create so many problems for ourselves. And this weakness of mind is generally towards anything, right? It could be towards relations, it could be towards money, it could be towards sense enjoyment, it could be towards our own body, it could be anything. Just weakness. We are faced with difficult situations, we don't have willpower, strength to actually overcome that and continue our bhakti. right? We will just drop it. And then how difficult it is to actually come back again to the same position where we left off. I always say this, right? Our anartha nivrutti, phase of anartha nivrutti in our bhakti is of the longest duration and the most difficult. And during this time, if we stop peddling, if we stop doing Tivra Bhakti, then we slip, we go down the slope. And how difficult it is to actually again come back to the same position we were at. So difficulties will be there because this is the material world. There's no other option. I mean, no other alternative. We have to suffer. Mm. So some one devotee family you might know, Mataji is going through a lot of health challenges. Then I was talking to Prabhu. Prabhu said, "So what else can we do? This anyway we have to suffer. So we are focusing on bhakti." I said, perfect. Suffering anyway, it will go on, right? That is only eventually the desire of Krishna by his mercy, if at all our suffering can be reduced. But otherwise, suffering will be there. So he was saying, what to do, Prabhu? We are just trying to focus on bhakti and make more progress in bhakti. I said, amazing, very nice. They're not into bhakti for many years, right? But very advanced thought process. So we cannot, we should not become weak-minded. And again, if we are weak-minded, solution is to be in the association of strong-minded people who are fixed in bhakti, anya, ahituki apratihata, not wavering. So this Hridaya Daurbalyam has to be given up. And sadhana is the means. Strong sadhana is the way to get rid of all kinds of Hridaya Daurbalyam. I mean, even like last 1 week or so, I've been thinking, saying that I can be sitting here in a class and speaking, but when it comes to real life, even I face so many challenges. And many a times I realize I need to just lose. I have to become the loser. If I want to become the winner all the time, then it will result in more challenges for me to do bhakti. So, in a grasta family kind of setup, sometimes or many times we might have to just lose, give up, just in the interest of anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam. What is favorable for bhakti? Okay, if this is favorable for bhakti, I have to give up my false ego, my position. Maybe I was right, still somebody saying I am wrong. It's okay. But if we are weak-minded, we'll say, no, 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 how can that person say like this and we are going on this self-pity mode. Weak-minded, weakness of heart. Person who is strong-minded will say, no, 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 it's fine. That person may be wrong, but he or she is saying that uh, they are right. But if I go in this direction and if I'm going to argue, etc., etc., it will just result in a pratikula condition. It will unfavorable condition for bhakti because my mind will get disturbed. Then situation in the house will get this. Why all this is required? So let me just become the loser, so that bhakti wins, so that my consciousness is not spoiled, uh, so that situation remains favorable to do bhakti. So, for to be able to do that, we require strong mind which is fixed on bhakti. Otherwise, it's yeah, except maybe yeah, even brahmacharis have challenges. Even sannyasis have their own challenges. Everybody has challenges. Of course, grihasthas have the maximum challenges, right? So we have to become strong-minded and fix ourselves. More and more, we read Bhagavatam. It's very clear that the only answer to all our problems is Tivra Bhakti. And for us to do Tivra Bhakti, we need strong mind to remain fixed day in, day out. Right? So otherwise, the Grihastha life is like completely unfavorable to Bhakti. right? It's so difficult. But we have to remain strong-minded, fixed, follow the instructions of Guru, follow the instructions of previous acharyas. Trinadapi Sunichena move on, saying that okay, I'm anyway nobody. I have fallen into this material world. Let me work towards getting out of this bondage. So we have to overcome this weakness of mind. Hridaya Daurbalyam, very, very important. And also it's very important in marriage. Uh, Otherwise, yeah, we generally see in marriages, eventually if marriage is not broken, one, either the husband or the wife has taken a back seat. That's all. It's simple. It's practical, right? Some people don't want to do that, then marriage breaks. Otherwise, husband or wife has become submissive, then marriage remains. Right. So this is how it works. Okay. I'll stop here if anybody has any questions, comments. Yeah, there can be comments because everything in practical, all of us keep going through these situations of, which create difficulty for us, and how our weak mind either in helps us or gives us difficulty. Okay. Anybody wants to share anything, or we're okay?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
This chapter, and this is very, very circumstantial and very, very different from a person. Anyway, everything is time, place, circumstances. Many a times, Prabhu, even if you don't want a divorce, you're forced to take it. And it is usually the women who suffer. And sometimes even men do. Like
Mm.
it's not that it's only the women who are targeted. Even
Mm.
I've seen it in my father's a lawyer. I've seen one woman. She's got it every time. She's taken a divorce. He's paid up for her, and like over the period, you come to know it's not the man's fault. But every time she'll put a new case, she'll extract money. He's literally on the roads
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He's
true.
literally on the roads. And
Mm.
my sister's daughter, Prabhu, like she comes from, I mean, they come from a very good house. She's an MBA. She was studying. The boy who's got married, he's got no bad habits. He
Mm.
doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't womanize, nothing. It
Mm.
had come to such a state where like either she would be brought home dead,
Oh,
or she
Krishna.
had to be like her mother very cleverly had to take her out.
Mm.
So time, place, circumstances, probably you cannot generalize this at all.
Mm.
Like, okay, in the case of Sati and Shivji, it was very different. Like even among the bhaktas, we know, like one of the devotees, he beats up his wife every day. He wanted to get initiated, and when Prabhu did not sign his paper, he got it signed from somebody else. He left to America. He abandoned his wife. I mean, there's
Mm.
so many things we see even in the material world, in the bhakti world
Yeah.
also. So it's very, very difficult to summarize all this.
Yeah, 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 which is true, but that is why Prabhupada, what he's saying is that generally there should not be, of course, there are all kinds of situations because of our past karma, etc. But generally, weak-mindedness should be avoided, whether it is husband or wife or man or woman. Just from a perspective, bhakti should be kept in front. And many a times, actually, Prabhupada actually highlights this fact, um, about how that woman has to be submissive. See, of course, there are situations like you say, there are crazy situations happening all the time, but the guidance in the Shastra is general. General. That's why Prabhupada, when he's writing, he says generally. Generally, yeah. Special situations are always there, and yeah, those situations will have to be dealt with differently. But many a times it's not so worse, but we make it worse, right? So which is also something that we should note. See, we should not always see our mind the way it works. No, we always small situation we make it big. That is because of weak heart, weak mindedness, right? So at least we should be realistic about our situation. And yeah, really, if our situation was like you were saying, she would have been brought dead home. Yeah, very critical, crucial. Appropriate decisions will have to be taken. But I've seen that out of, maybe it's 1 out of 10 cases which are so critical, or maybe 1 out of 50 cases, right? But most of the times it's just false ego against false ego. That's all. It's just simply tu tu me, nothing else. Right? On things that are not so important at all, we just want to fight over it and make sure that I am the winner. So at least for from our practical life perspective, right? Maybe there are certain unfortunate individuals who have bad karma to deal with, but at least all of us should try to incorporate this in our life and try to create a more peaceful atmosphere at home. It's very very important for grihasthas, at least sane grihasthas. Let me put it that way, right? Yeah, insane people who want to beat their wife, etc. I mean, yeah, they're one, they are there, unfortunately, but we don't want to discuss them, right? Yeah, we are in the rest of the uh, bracket where we're not insane, but we can make it much better for ourselves by following these instructions. We can make bhakti life work better for us, right? I think that's the direction we should think, because if we take very bad situations, circumstances, then they're not the norm, they're just exceptions. Okay, any other thoughts?
Prabhu, physical torture is very visible, but what
Hmm.
about mental torture at times? That is, it
No,
is
no, that's what
so
I'm saying.
totally
Mental
good. Like,
torture is a state of mind. Mental torture is
how,
about how we perceive things, what we think
how
is right, what we think is wrong. See, simple thing, right? Like even a simple, um, somebody just said something with all the good intentions. I can take it in a completely wrong way. Mental is a very, very subjective thing, right? That is why our even deciding what is right, what is wrong should be based on Shastra. If I just say I felt bad, that's a mental thing, right? I mean, I felt bad. I could have felt bad for nothing. I could have felt bad for something really that is worth feeling bad. So this mental is, see, that is why devotees as in bhakti, we are not expected to remain on the mental platform. We are expected to come to the spiritual platform. As to the extent that devotees remain on the mental platform, things remain difficult, right? And that is why we have to increase our sadhana. We have to stop. See, Trinadapi. Otherwise, why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would have said Trinadapi Sunichana? Trinadapi Sunichana means mental platform. On the mental platform, just think, okay, I'm worthless. Because mental platform is the worst. Today's whole society is on the mental platform, right? People are mental, really mental, right? Thinking, and it's my way or the highway. This is all mental platform. But the problem is with this mental platform, there is no basis at all. There's no proper foundation at all for this. It's all sense gratification. It's all selfishness. So who decides what is right, what is wrong? It has to be Shastra. It cannot be my perception about things or my feelings. It cannot be all these. And this is the society outside. Right? If within the devotee society also, if we remain on the same platform and deal with things on the same platform, how different are we from others?
Prabhuji, I just ask you something. Like, okay, I know a person, like, I
Mm,
mean, now you say you, like we say, I tell her, okay, you have to be under your protection of your husband. You can't leave him. 24
mm.
hours, if you're just nagged, you're worthless, tera kuch bhi nahi hai, jo kuch hai mera hai. Ultimately you start feeling useless. And then if you want, even if you want to walk out, where do you go? Like many times she says, do you have an ashram in your ISKCON where I could be safe, like I can walk out? There are so many persons I know like this, and they just they you and they mentally become, Prabhu. It's not, it's there is saying something like you just said, like when I'm preaching something and when I go through something, so many times I have to pull myself. You being
Yeah,
a
yeah.
man have
Mm.
to, being
Yeah.
women being dependent, it's not as easy as it sounds, Prabhu. Like the
No, no,
mental
no. But
torture
see,
is not.
Mataji, it's nothing is easy, right? Let's not get it. Let's not
Yeah,
see.
I
There's
understand.
nothing which is easy in this material world,
But
right?
it breaks you, Prabhu. It really, I would rather walk out of that situation than being
No,
there.
no, no. That's
Like,
that's what. This is our
that's not
personal
the,
choice. This is our personal choice, right? We are
yeah.
talking about
But
Shastra.
then that's not that, but that is also not the cure. That, I mean, you
Yeah,
should be with
yeah.
your husband.
which is not the cure. That is why I'm saying, see, it's a personal choice, right? Somebody decides to walk out of their marriage and then they face more challenges,
And
right?
the suicide,
Yeah,
then,
yeah. So you see, you are only answering both the sides, right?
no,
So
like
see,
that's because I've seen things, very close.
absolutely,
I have
absolutely.
seen it very, very, with somebody who's very, very close to me. I have seen this, Prabhu. That is why I'm, I've literally lived it, like, not with, somebody who's asked, and like every day when I'm telling her, okay, do this, okay, do, then when she asks me, is this right? Like, I can't take it anymore. Like, there are situations like this.
No, no, again, we are going through the to the extreme situations. There are extreme situations, right? And unfortunately, Kali Yuga, there are unfortunate people who have to go through, I mean, real
Yeah,
suffering, right?
yes,
Yeah,
ultimately, yes.
we are not saying that it nothing. I mean that those situations cannot exist at all, or it's the same solution for all situations. No, I mean I know I
So
don't
we are
want to name
talking
the
about,
devotee. I have a devotee right here on this group who is going through so much of trouble, right? But she's
yes,
putting
Prabhu.
through. She's
Yes,
fighting,
Prabhu.
right? And
Yes,
I'm very happy to that see all of us have our own struggles. But
yes,
what Krishna is seeing. Krishna is seeing how much we are submissive, how much we are following instructions of Guru and Acharyas, and we will get the mercy for that, right? So it's not that it has to be the same solution for everybody, but in general,
massive,
trying to
massive.
be a
Yes,
little bit more submissive will always help our
yes,
cause,
Prabhu.
right?
Yes, Prabhu.
And that is the main message. Then we are always we are ready to fight. We're ready to fight, and that fighting, our approach is because of weak-mindedness, but we think it's actually strong-mindedness. No, it's actually weak-mindedness because
Yes,
we are not able to deal with our situation. We become aggressive, and when we
absolutely.
become aggressive, then it just spoils the
Yes,
whole thing. And
yes,
I mean, and this is the reason I'm again coming back. Why is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying Trinadapi Sunichan? He could have just said, fight your way through, fight your way through to Goloka, right? But he didn't say that. He said Trinadapi. I mean, and Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is saying that make this, what is that? Garland around your neck, necklace around your neck. This verse. Why? Because every moment we have to deal with situations where either I can say I'm Trinadapi or I can say I'm the boss, right? And Chaitanya
yes,
Mahaprabhu is saying, no, remain servant, remain submissive. So then we have to go and ask Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying, Krishna, why are you saying this? You know what Kali Yuga is. Krishna, I said, will say that is the reason why I said Pranadapi Sinuchena, because you are a devotee, right? So we have to understand, right? These instructions are not coming from somebody of this material world. This instruction is coming from Krishna himself, who's advising devotees, saying that boss, tolerate karo, right? And Krishna will, of course, in the life of devotees, Krishna will play his part. It's not that he's just, is he happy looking at devotees suffering if they're going through real suffering? And I mean, like torture. No, he's going to pull them out. But he also wants to see whether, okay, as devotees, are we playing our part? Are we trying? Yeah, some of this could be very, very difficult, and I'm not saying any of this without any experience in this. I've also had enough experience in my life, and um, being a very strong-headed, you know, very, yeah, strong-minded in the sense that it's my way or highway. I've gone through enough situations in my life where I had to change. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been here doing what I'm doing today. Right? So it's obviously it's difficult, but we should remember that this instruction is real. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction is real. Okay.
yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Anything else? Anybody?
Prabhuji, can I ask a doubt which is not connected to the chapter?
Yeah, Mataji, please.
Thank you. Prabhu, this morning I was hearing, I mean, like, it's something which we come across every day while preaching or in them. Prabhu, it is said that when you're worshipping the demigods, Krishna himself gives you that,
Intelligence.
yeah,
Yeah.
to, pray to him and to have your faith
Faith,
fixed in
faith.
him.
Yeah, faith. He
So
gives the faith.
how do you then how does that person make the shift from the demigods to this? It's only by his causeless mercy, or
Okay.
again the intelligence doesn't, because many times when you're preaching, like it is, they are so hardcore, especially
Hmm.
Durga Bhakts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, so very good question. So basically, what the Varnashrama, this is a Varnashrama system where a person who is worshipped a certain demigod for a certain amount of time naturally gets upgraded in his
Yeah.
next life.
Huh, huh.
So the result of that worship will be like, somebody who's a worshipper of Durga for Padma Purana says, a worshipper of Shakti for few lives. Next, after whatever those number of lives, that person will come to Lord Shiva. Then that person, if he's staunch believer of Shiva for 3 lifetimes or something, then Shiva will bring him to Vishnu. So natural upgradation happens
Hmm.
over lives. But Prabhupada also says that these demigod worshippers also in one sense, um, uh, they are better than atheists because they can also come to Krishna. But for that they should have done Agnata Sukruti,
Okay.
and which is very very much possible in a country like India, where you are not like so much of a. I mean, yeah, if somebody starts arguing against Durga, you might fight back. But if you just say no, 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 come for Krishna Janmashtami, they will come. You will come, right? So in India, the thing is, if you don't go too aggressive, a lot of people will eventually get some Agnata Sukruti by associating, serving devotees of Krishna, Vishnu, and which gives them the qualification to come to Krishna subsequently. It's very, very favorable. India as a country is very, very favorable for people to come to make progress, beyond the natural progression that is there for everybody.
Yesterday I was trying to preach somebody. She says,
Yeah.
"I'm a Hindu. I'm only eating mutton and chicken. I don't eat cow. I don't eat cow. Murgan. What
Uh-huh.
Krishna? Like I said, she said, no, I believe Krishna. I'm Murugan Kartikeya.
Uh,
Now, like I said, yes, you can't go beyond that.
yeah. Anyway,
She
all
said,
kinds of people are there.
I'm a Hindu. She says, I eat
Uh,
only mutton, chicken. I'm not eating cow, na. So
Excellent. Very
so
good.
I'm yeah.
Congratulations. You will go only to some part of hell. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, all kinds of people are there. Okay.
Okay. Sorry, Prabhu,
Thank
like
you.
took your time.
No, 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 no problem.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna. Okay. Anything else? Anybody? We can close it, I guess. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Jagati Dana Vishnu ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Then